Welcome to session 9, Consolidation of Soils. When a soil mass is subjected to a compressive load, its volume decreases. The decrease in volume is due to expulsion of air or water or both from the voids. The compression of soil due to expulsion of water under steady static pressure is known as consolidation. So what is the difference between compaction and consolidation? Compaction happens due to expulsion of air from the soil under dynamic pressure, whereas consolidation takes place due to expulsion of water under steady static pressure. The mechanics of consolidation can be explained with the help of spring analogy given by Terzaghi. Now let us see the Terzaghi's mass spring analogy. The figure 1 shows a spring with a piston on its top. The length of the spring is Z0 under a pressure of 10 units. If 12 units pressure is loaded, then the length of the spring is compressed to Z1. You can see in the figure 2. If this spring and piston is placed in a cylinder filled with water under a pressure of 10 units, the third sketch, then the spring length is Z if 2 more units of pressure is added for this system. Then there is no change in the length of the spring. It is Z only. So what is happening to the additional pressure of 2 units? So this additional pressure of 2 units is taken by the water present in the cylinder. So in this case, the total pressure, which is 12 units, equal to effective stress, that is 10 units, and pore water pressure 2 units. Whatever the pressure that is taken by the water is nothing but pore water pressure, and whatever the load or pressure that is taken by the spring is effective stress. Now if the valve is opened, then the water escapes from the cylinder and the spring is compressed. The spring is compressed due to transfer of pressure from water to the spring. This analogy can be applied to the consolidation process of a soil consisting of soil water system, where the grain structure represents the spring and the voids filled with water represent the cylinder with water. When pressure is applied on the soil, a partial amount of pressure is initially taken by the pore water present in the soil. As water starts escaping, the pressure which was taken by the pore water transfers the load to the soil solids, and the soil mass decreases in volume. The reduction in volume of soil mass due to squeezing of water from the voids is termed as primary consolidation or primary compression. Even after expulsion of all the pore water from the soil, some compression takes place at a very slow rate due to plastic readjustment of particles, which is known as secondary consolidation or secondary compression. Terzaghi's one-dimensional consolidation theory. Let us see the assumptions made in this consolidation theory. The soil is homogeneous and isotropic. The soil is fully saturated. The solid particles and water in the voids are incompressible. The compression occurs due to expulsion of water from the voids. The coefficient of permeability of the soil has the same value at all the points in the soil, and it remains constant during the entire period of consolidation. Darcy's law is valid throughout the consolidation process. Soil is laterally confined and the consolidation takes place in axial direction. Drainage of water also occurs only in the vertical direction. The time lag in consolidation is due entirely to the low permeability of the soil, and thus secondary consolidation is disregarded. There is a unique relationship between the void ratio and the effective stress, and this relationship remains constant during the load increment. So based on the assumptions, we can write the limitations. So here assumptions 4 and 5 are not fully satisfied. In fact, coefficient of permeability varies at different points in the soil and its value decreases as the consolidation progresses. Then at very low hydraulic gradients, the Darcy's law is not applicable. Assumption 6 is not satisfied in actual field. In the field, the consolidation is usually 3-dimensional and not 1-dimensional. Assumption 7 is not satisfied as some secondary consolidation does occur along with the primary consolidation. Then, if we observe the last assumption, the actual relationship between the void ratio and the effective stress is not linear, contrary to the 8th assumption. Then, according to the consolidation theory, the coefficient of consolidation is given by Cv equal to K by Mv into gamma W. Cv is the coefficient of consolidation, which is equal to K by Mv into gamma W, where K is the coefficient of permeability, Mv is the coefficient of volume change, and gamma W is the unit weight of water. Then, to find the coefficient of consolidation, we need to conduct the consolidation test in the laboratory. So now let us see the consolidation test. The laboratory consolidation test is conducted with an apparatus known as consolidometer. The consolidometer consists of a loading frame and consolidation cell in which the soil specimen is kept. Porous stones are placed at the top and bottom of the soil sample. The consolidation cells are of two types: floating ring cell and fixed ring cell. Then here the specimen is allowed to consolidate under a number of increments of vertical pressure such as 10, 20, 50, 100, 200, 400, 800, 1000 kilonewton per meter square, and each pressure increment is maintained for 24 hours. The vertical compression of specimen is measured by dial gauge. Dial gauge readings are taken after the application of each pressure increment at some time intervals like 0.25, 1, 2.25, 4, 6.25, 9, 12.25, 16, 20.25, 25, 36, 49, 60 minutes and then 2 hours, 4 hours, 8 hours, 24 hours, etc. The dial gauge readings showing the final compression under each pressure increment are also recorded. After the completion of consolidation, the specimen is unloaded and allowed to swell. The final dial gauge reading corresponding to the completion of swelling is recorded, and the specimen is dried to determine the water content and weight of soil solids. So from the consolidation test data, we can find various parameters like coefficient of compressibility, coefficient of volume change, void ratio, coefficient of permeability, etc. First let us see the determination of void ratio. We know that void ratio equal to volume of voids divided by volume of solids. So this volume of voids we can write total volume minus volume of solids divided by volume of solids. And what is the total volume? It is the product of cross-sectional area multiplied by thickness. Similarly, volume of solids we can write cross-sectional area multiplied by thickness of soil solids. Then if A get cancelled, both in the numerator and denominator, we will get H minus Hs by Hs. Total thickness minus thickness of soil solids divided by thickness of soil solids. So using this equation, the void ratio at various load increments are determined, and plots are prepared on normal graph and semilog sheet. So void ratio is taken on the y-axis and normal stress is taken on the x-axis. So this plot is on the normal graph and this plot is on the semilog sheet. Then the slope of this curve represents the coefficient of compressibility, and the slope of this particular straight line which is obtained from the semilog sheet represents the compression index. So coefficient of compressibility, it is nothing but slope of the compression curve, which is equal to delta E by delta sigma dash, that is change in the void ratio divided by increase in the effective stress. So as the effective stress increases, the void ratio decreases. Because they are inversely proportional, it is represented with minus sign. The units for coefficient of compressibility is meter square per kilonewton. Then coefficient of volume change, it is defined as the volumetric strain per unit increase in effective stress. Volumetric strain is nothing but change in volume divided by initial volume divided by increase in effective stress, represented with delta sigma dash symbol. Then volumetric strain can also be expressed in terms of void ratio. So we can write delta V by V naught equal to delta E by 1 plus E naught. Delta E is the change in void ratio and E naught is the initial void ratio. Then we can also write coefficient of volume compressibility or coefficient of volume change as delta E by 1 plus E naught divided by delta sigma dash. If the area of cross section of soil sample is constant, then the change in volume is proportional to the change in height, so that we can write change in volume equal to change in thickness. So in this case we can write delta V by V naught equal to delta H by H naught, so that we can write coefficient of volume compressibility equal to delta H by H naught divided by delta sigma dash. So now if we observe the equations of coefficient of compressibility and coefficient of volume compressibility, then delta E by delta sigma dash represents coefficient of compressibility. So if we substitute delta E by delta sigma dash as AV divided by 1 plus E naught, we'll get coefficient of volume compressibility in terms of coefficient of compressibility. So coefficient of volume change or coefficient of volume compressibility equal to coefficient of compressibility divided by 1 plus E naught. So because there are no units for void ratio, the units for coefficient of compressibility and coefficient of volume change are same, which is meter square per kilonewton. Compression index. The compression index is the slope of linear portion of the void ratio versus log sigma dash plot. So as we discussed before, this E sigma dash values can be plotted on normal graph as well as semilog. So if we plot it on semilog sheet, then we'll get a straight line like this for the condition of loading. Then when we start unloading, it starts swelling. So in that case, the curve will be like this. When we start unloading gradually, then the specimen starts swelling. In that case, if we take the readings, dial gauge readings, and calculate the void ratio, and if you plot the values on the same semilog sheet, we'll get the unloading curve like this. Then again, if we reload the soil sample with the same pressure increments, then we'll get reloading curve. So the slope of this loading curve represents the compression index. So what is the slope? If we take the slope of this loading curve, it is delta E divided by log to the base 10 sigma dash by sigma naught dash. Here sigma dash is the final stress. sigma naught dash is the initial stress corresponding to two states if you take, then sigma dash represents the final stress and sigma naught dash is the initial stress. So final stress is nothing but initial stress plus increase in stress. So we can write compression index equal to delta E by log to the base 10 sigma naught dash plus delta sigma dash divided by sigma naught dash. Sometimes if it is not feasible to conduct the consolidation test, then we can find the compression index from the liquid limit value. So for undisturbed soil, we can write compression index equal to 0.009 liquid limit minus 10%, and for disturbed soil, compression index equal to 0.007 liquid limit minus 10%. So using these equations, we can estimate the compression index indirectly. Then expansion index or swelling index. It is the slope of the unloading curve. So as we discussed here, during the unloading time, we will get a curve like this, which is called unloading curve. The slope of this unloading curve is called as expansion index or swelling index. As the x and y axis are same, we will get the same equation, but the values will be different. Delta E by log to the base 10 sigma naught dash plus delta sigma dash divided by sigma naught dash corresponding to unloading curve. Then recompression index, it is the slope of the reloading curve, and the equation is same but the values will vary. Both expansion index and recompression index are less than the compression index. So the range of recompression index is about 1/10 to 1/5 of the compression index. Then settlement of soil. We know that coefficient of volume compressibility or coefficient of volume change equal to delta H by H naught into H naught divided by delta sigma dash. Then we can write change in thickness equal to mv into H naught into delta sigma dash. The change in thickness for fully consolidated soil is called as final settlement. So delta H corresponding to end of the consolidation test is nothing but final settlement. So delta H equal to settlement, which is equal to mv into H naught into delta sigma dash. H naught is the initial thickness and delta sigma dash is the increase in stress. So we can write coefficient of volume change in terms of void ratio as delta E by 1 plus E naught into 1 by delta sigma dash into this H naught and delta sigma dash. So here delta sigma dash will get cancelled, so that we can write settlement equal to delta E by 1 plus E naught into H naught. We know that compression index equal to delta E by log to the base 10 sigma naught dash plus delta sigma dash by sigma naught dash. So from this we can write delta E equal to Cc into log to the base 10 sigma naught dash plus delta sigma dash by sigma naught dash. So if we substitute this delta E in this equation, we will get settlement equal to H naught into Cc divided by 1 plus E naught into log to the base 10 sigma naught dash plus delta sigma dash divided by sigma naught dash. So if S is the settlement of soil stratum at time t, the ratio of S by Sf is called as degree of consolidation. Another definition is degree of consolidation, which is equal to S by Sf into 100. S is the settlement corresponding to any particular time divided by final settlement into 100. This degree of consolidation is a function of time factor. So time factor, there are two equations for time factor. When the degree of consolidation is less than 60%, then time factor equal to pi by 4 u square. But when the degree of consolidation is greater than 60%, we have to use another equation to estimate the time factor, that is 1.781 minus 0.9332 log to the base 10 100 minus u. This time factor can also be expressed in terms of coefficient of consolidation, where time factor equal to CVT by d square. CV is the coefficient of consolidation, T is the time taken from the instant load is applied, and D is the drainage path. So what is this drainage path? Drainage path is the maximum distance a water particle has to travel to reach the free drainage boundary. So if it is having drainage layer at the top and bottom of the clay layer, consolidation happens only in the case of clayey soil. So if the clay layer is having permeable layers on either side, then this water particle can go this side or this side. So the maximum distance a water particle has to travel is only half the thickness of clay. So here drainage path equal to h by 2. So in case of double drainage, where both the sides are permeable, then we have to take the drainage path as half of the thickness of clay layer. But in case of single drainage, where one side is permeable and other side is impermeable, so in this case the water particle, if it is here, it has to travel up to the entire distance of thickness of clay layer. So in this case drainage path equal to h. So for single drainage we have to take drainage path as the thickness of clay layer, and if it is double drainage we have to take half the thickness of clay layer. And there is another equation for coefficient of consolidation in terms of coefficient of permeability, which is equal to K by mv into gamma w. Then determination of coefficient of consolidation. So the coefficient of consolidation is a very important parameter. So there are two graphical methods available to estimate the coefficient of consolidation. They are square root of time fitting method and then logarithm of time fitting method. This square root of time fitting method is also called as Taylor's method or curve fitting method. So in this, first we have to plot the values of dial gauge readings on the y-axis and square root of time on the x-axis. So here the starting reading, the curve begins from a dial gauge reading R0 at a time T0, which is called 0 reading. This R0 is called 0 reading. The initial and final portions of the plot are parabolic. So here when you observe the curve, the initial and final portions of the curve is parabolic, whereas middle portion is almost linear. This middle portion is almost linear. Extend this middle straight line portion backwards like this to intersect the y-axis at a particular point. This point represents the corrected 0 reading, represented with symbol RC, corrected 0 reading. The consolidation between R0 and RC is called initial consolidation or initial compression. Then name this extended straight line as line A. Now name this line like this, which is extended, is called as line A. This one, line A. Then draw another line, line B. There is another line, line B, such that its x coordinate is 1.15 times that of line A. So we have to take the x coordinates of line B as 1.15 times that of x coordinate of line A. Y coordinate will be same. So like that we should plot the points and then we have to join with a straight line, that is represented as line B. The line B intersects the consolidation curve at point P. The dial gauge reading corresponding to this point indicates 90% degree of consolidation, and time is corresponding to root T90. So whatever the time is obtained from this point is represented as square root of T90. Then we know that TV equal to CVT by D square. Time factor equal to CVT by D square. And corresponding to 90% degree of consolidation, time factor can be calculated using the equations, which is 0.848. Now we can write coefficient of consolidation equal to 0.848 into D square divided by T90. So knowing the value of T90 from the plot, we can calculate the coefficient of consolidation. Then if R100 is the dial gauge reading corresponding to 100% degree of consolidation, then by using interpolation we can calculate R100 from the known values of RC and R90. So whatever the point we got, that is point P, we can find the dial gauge reading corresponding to 90% consolidation, which is represented as R90, and time as T90. So here, because we are having the values of RC, R0 and R90, we can find the dial gauge reading corresponding to 100% degree of consolidation, that is R100, using interpolation. So using this equation we can find the value of R100 knowing the values of RC and R90. So then we have to plot the value of R100, and then we have to draw a line like this. Now the consolidation between RC and R100 is called primary consolidation, and the consolidation after 100% of primary consolidation is called secondary consolidation. Then next method is logarithm of time fitting method, also called as Casagrande method or rectangular hyperbola method. In the Taylor's method, the straight line portion is not always obtained. So in the previous case, there was a straight line portion in between. So if it is not obtained, in such cases we can use the Casagrande's method or logarithm of time fitting method. So here we have to plot the values on semi-log sheet by taking the dial gauge readings on y-axis and time values on x-axis. So here the initial portion of the curve is parabolic, followed by two straight line portions. So this is one straight line portion, this is one straight line portion, two straight line portions with a parabolic portion in between. So in between these two straight line portions there is one parabolic portion. Now we have to select 2 points P and Q on the initial parabolic portion of the curve corresponding to 1 minute and 1/4 minute. Corresponding to 1 minute and 1/4 minute, we have to select the points on the initial parabolic portion, and they are represented with symbols P and Q. Then we have to find the vertical distance between these 2 points P and Q, and then represent as Z. Then draw a horizontal line above this point Q at a vertical distance of Z, the distance between the points P and Q is Z. Now, at a distance of Z above point Q, we have to draw a horizontal line to intersect the y-axis, which represents the corrected zero reading. So, this is corresponding to 0% degree of consolidation. Then, if the two straight line portions are extended, then they intersect at a particular point, that is point M, which is corresponding to 100% degree of consolidation. The coordinates of this point are represented as R100 and T100. So now, by using the interpolation equation, we can find the dial gauge reading corresponding to 50% degree of consolidation, that is R50. Then, knowing the values of RC and R100, we can calculate R50 and it has to be plotted on the graph. Then, corresponding to R50, we can find the time, that is T50. So now, using the equation of coefficient of consolidation, which is equal to TVD square by T, where TV is 0.196 corresponding to 50% degree of consolidation, we can calculate the time factor, which is equal to 0.196. So if we take this value in the equation 0.196 d square divided by corresponding to 50%, the time is represented as T50. So this T50 we can obtain from the plot. So knowing the value of T50, we can estimate the coefficient of consolidation. Then, stress history of soils. Depending on the state of consolidation, the soil deposits are divided into three types: pre-consolidated or over-consolidated deposit, normally consolidated deposit, and under-consolidated deposit. So, how to find whether it is pre-consolidated, under-consolidated, or normally consolidated? Based on the over-consolidation ratio. So, over-consolidation ratio is the ratio of maximum pressure a soil had been subjected in the past to the present overburden pressure. So, what is this under-consolidated deposit? For a recent landfill, the soil deposit is not fully consolidated under the existing overburden pressure. If the soil deposit is not fully consolidated under the existing pressure, it is said to be under-consolidated. So, where the over-consolidation ratio will be less than 1. Then, normally consolidated deposit. So, what is normally consolidated deposit? A soil deposit is said to be normally consolidated if it has never been subjected to a pressure greater than the present overburden pressure and has been fully consolidated under the presently acting pressure. So, in this case, for normally consolidated soil, over-consolidation ratio is approximately equal to 1. Then, over-consolidated deposit or pre-consolidated deposit. A soil is said to be pre-consolidated if it has in the past been fully consolidated under a pressure greater than the present overburden pressure acting on the soil. So, for an over-consolidated soil, OCR is greater than 1. Pre-consolidation pressure. So, what is this pre-consolidation pressure? In case of over-consolidated soil, we have to find the pre-consolidation pressure. It is the maximum pressure to which an over-consolidated soil had been subjected in the past is called as pre-consolidation pressure. So, how to estimate the pre-consolidation pressure? Why we need to estimate? When a soil sample is taken from a natural deposit, then the weight of the overlying material is removed. This causes an expansion of the soil due to reduction in pressure. Thus, the specimen is pre-consolidated. When the specimen is loaded in the consolidation test, then the consolidation curve will be like this. So, initially it is parabolic followed by a straight line. So, here how to estimate the pre-consolidation pressure from the consolidation test. So, the initial portion AB is relatively flat. It is followed by a straight line CD with a steep slope BC in between. This is the steep slope and this is relatively flat and this is the straight line. The portion AB, this one, resembles a recompression curve. Then segment CD indicates compression of normally consolidated soil. The slope BC here gradually changes. The pre-consolidation pressure falls in this range. It will be within this BC. It can be obtained by the Casagrande's method. So for this, first we have to determine a point on the curve BC where the curvature is maximum. That is, the radius of curvature is minimum. Say it is point E. Then from this point E, draw a horizontal line EG. Then from this point draw a tangent EF to the curve at point E. Then the angle between this horizontal and tangent, if it is theta, then bisect this angle. Bisect the angle theta between EG and EF and draw the bisector EH. Extend the straight line portion CD, this CD backwards to intersect the bisector. This is the bisector. Intersect this bisector at a particular point. Say it is point P. Now draw the vertical PJ. Draw the vertical PJ through P, which cuts the x-axis at point J. The point J indicates the pre-consolidation pressure. Then calculation of equilibrium void ratio. The equilibrium void ratio or final void ratio after full consolidation under each pressure increment can be calculated by two methods, like height of solids method and change in void ratio method. First we will see the height of solids method. We know that void ratio can be determined using the equation H minus Hs by Hs, where H is the final thickness of the soil sample and Hs is the height of solids, which can be obtained by taking the weight of solids divided by A into G into gamma W. A is the cross sectional area of specimen and gamma W is the unit weight of water. Then this is one method. We can also find using the change in void ratio method. We know that final void ratio, we know that SC equal to Wg. So at the end of the test, because the soil is fully saturated, degree of saturation will be 1. So E equal to Wg. So by finding the final water content at the end of the test, we can find the final void ratio. Now let us see some problems on consolidation of soils. In a consolidation test, the void ratio of the specimen, which was 1.068 under the effective pressure of 214 kilonewton per meter square, changed to 0.994 and the pressure was increased to 429 kilonewton per meter square. Calculate the coefficient of compressibility, compression index, coefficient of volume compressibility and coefficient of consolidation. The coefficient of permeability of the soil was 1 into 10 to the power of minus 5 centimeter per second. Estimate the liquid limit indirectly. So here initial void ratio is given. For a particular pressure increment, the initial void ratio is 1.068 and with the increase in load, to 429. So this is the assume this is the initial stress sigma naught dash, and this is the final stress 429. Then within this pressure increment, the change in the void ratio is 1.068 minus 0.994, which is 0.074. Then coefficient of permeability is given. So it is given in centimeter per second and it is converted to meter per second, because the pressure units are kilonewton per meter square. Then it is asked to find the coefficient of compressibility. So what is coefficient of compressibility? It is the ratio of change in void ratio to the change in stress or increase in stress. Decrease in the void ratio divided by increase in the stress. For the numericals, we will not be taking the minus sign. Only for the representation purpose, to show the relationship between delta E and delta sigma dash, will be representing with minus symbol because they are inversely proportional. But for the numericals, we need not take minus sign. So change in void ratio is 0.074 divided by increase in stress is 429 minus 214. So that we can find the coefficient of compressibility, which is 3.44 into 10 to the power of minus 4. The units are meter square per kilonewton, because there are no units for void ratio. Whatever the units are there for stress, that will be reversed, that is meter square per kilonewton. Then it is also asked to find the compression index. We know that compression index equal to delta E by log to the base 10 sigma naught dash plus delta sigma dash divided by sigma naught dash. So delta E is 0.074 divided by log to the base 10. This sigma naught dash plus delta sigma dash is nothing but final stress. Initial stress plus increase in stress is nothing but final stress divided by initial stress. We can find the compression index. Then volume compressibility, coefficient of volume compressibility, represented with symbol MV, which is equal to AV by 1 plus E naught. Coefficient of compressibility divided by 1 plus void ratio, initial void ratio. So we can calculate the coefficient of volume compressibility. Then coefficient of consolidation. So how to find this coefficient of consolidation? Because the coefficient of permeability is given, we can use the equation K by MV into gamma W. So K value is given, which we converted into meter per second, divided by MV value, which we have calculated, that is meter square per kilonewton, into unit weight of water, which is a constant 9.81 kilonewton per meter cube. So that we can find the coefficient of consolidation 6.12 into 10 to the power of minus 5 meter square per second. Then it is also asked to estimate the liquid limit indirectly. So how to estimate the liquid limit indirectly? There is one equation for compression index in terms of liquid limit for remolded soil and for undisturbed soil. So here this is laboratory specimen in a consolidation test, that is this is the laboratory specimen. That means it is a disturbed soil. If it is corresponding to field soil like undisturbed soil, then we have to take 0.009. Because it is the disturbed soil laboratory specimen, we have to take 0.007 into liquid limit minus 10%. So here, because the compression index is already known, 0.245, by substituting this value in this equation, we can estimate the liquid limit, that is 45%. Next example is a saturated soil stratum 5 meter thick lies above an impervious stratum and below a pervious stratum. It has a compression index of 0.25 and coefficient of permeability 3.2 into 10 to the power of minus 4 centimeter per second. Void ratio at stress value of 150 kilonewton per meter square is 1.9. Compute change in void ratio due to increase in stress to 200 kilonewton per meter square. Then time required for 50% consolidation and time required for 90% consolidation. So here compression index is given, then coefficient of permeability is given, initial void ratio is given. We have to find the change in void ratio, then initial stress is given, final stress is also given. Then this coefficient of permeability we can convert into meter per second. So now how to estimate the change in void ratio? Because the compression index is given, we know the relationship between compression index and change in void ratio. So we can use the relationship for compression index to estimate the decrease in void ratio. So delta E equal to Cc into log to the base 10 sigma naught dash plus delta sigma dash divided by sigma naught dash. Cc value is given, which is 0.25 log to the base 10. This sigma naught dash plus delta sigma dash is nothing but final stress, that is 200 divided by initial stress is 150. So from this we can calculate the change in void ratio, that is 0.031. Then coefficient of volume change, which is equal to delta E by 1 plus E naught divided by delta sigma dash. So using this equation we can calculate the coefficient of volume change. Then it is asked to find the time required for 50% consolidation. So for this, first we have to calculate the coefficient of consolidation. So how to find the coefficient of consolidation? Because the coefficient of permeability is given, we can use the equation K by mv into gamma w, so that we can estimate the coefficient of consolidation. Then we have to, because we need to use this equation to estimate the time, where we need coefficient of consolidation and then time factor. So coefficient of consolidation, it is estimated using the values of coefficient of permeability and coefficient of volume compressibility. Then how to estimate the time factor? Time factor can be estimated from the degree of consolidation. So here degree of consolidation is given as 50%. For the second case it is given as 50%. So when the degree of consolidation is less than 60%, the equation is TV equal to pi by 4 u square. So from this we can find the time factor. Then knowing the values of time factor and then coefficient of consolidation, we can estimate the time required. So here what is this D? D is the drainage path. So how to find this drainage path? Drainage path is nothing but the maximum distance a water particle has to travel to reach the free drainage boundary. So it depends on the type of boundaries. Like if both the boundaries are permeable, then we have to take it as double drainage. If it is having only one side as the permeable layer, then it is single drainage. So here nothing is mentioned about single drainage or double drainage, but here it is written like above an impervious stratum and below a pervious stratum. That means it is of single drainage. So we have to take D equal to H. So by taking D equal to H, we can find the time required for 50% consolidation. And third case is time required for 90% consolidation. So here because the soil is same, CV will be same for this case also. Only thing is we have to find the time factor. Time factor, because the degree of consolidation is greater than 60%, the equation will vary. So we have to take another equation, that is 1.781 minus 0.9332 log to the base 10 100 minus u. So using this equation we can estimate the time factor, and by substituting in the equation we can find the time required. Then third problem is the void ratio of clay A decreased from 0.572 to 0.505 under a change in pressure from 1.2 to 1.8 kilonewton per meter square. The void ratio of clay B decreased from 0.612 to 0.597 under the same increment of pressure. The thickness of sample A was 1.5 times that of B. Nevertheless, the time required for 50% consolidation was 3 times longer for sample B than for sample A. what is the ratio of the coefficient of probability of A to that of B. So here two samples are given. So for the first sample, sample A, the decrease in void ratio is 0.067. For sample B, the decrease in void ratio is 0.015. And for both the samples, the increase in stress is same, that is 0.6 kilonewton per meter square. Here thickness of sample A is 1.5 times of thickness of sample B, and the time required for sample B is 3 times that of sample A. Now we have to find the ratio of their coefficients of probability. So first we should understand how to find this ratio using the equations available in this chapter. So here we know that coefficient of consolidation equal to K by mv into gamma w, and from this we can write Ka by Kb equal to Cva by Cvb into Mva by Mvb. So here we are not taking Cv as constant because they are of different samples. So coefficient of consolidation will be different. For the same soil, if it is under different conditions, then we need not take this parameter because coefficient of consolidation will be same for the same soil. So here the degree of consolidation is same. So when the degree of consolidation is same, time factor will be same. So we can write TVA equal to TVB. So what is TV? TV is CVT by D square. So we can equate because the time factors are same. Since the degree of consolidation is same, we can write CVA TA by DA square equal to CVB TV by DB square. So from this we can find CVA by CVB. So if we substitute the values of TA, TB, HA and HB, we can find the ratio of CVA by CVB, which is coming as 6.75. Then coefficient of volume change equal to delta E by 1 plus E naught divided by delta sigma dash. So from this we can take for two different samples, MVA by MVB, we can write delta EA divided by delta EB into 1 plus E naught B by 1 plus E naught A. Then by substituting the values, we can find the ratio of MVA by MVB, which is 4.58. Now from this equation, Ka by Kb equal to CVA by CVB, which is 6.75 multiplied by MVA by MVB, which is 4.58. So from this we can get Ka by Kb as 30.92. Next problem is a clay layer whose total settlement under a given load is expected to be 250 mm settles by 50 mm in 15 days after application of a load increment. How many days will be required for a settlement of 125 mm? How much settlement will occur in 300 days? So here different cases are given, but the soil is same. The final settlement is given as 250 mm. In 15 days it will settle by 50 mm. So we can take it as S1. Then how many days will be required for a settlement of 125 mm? If you take S2 as 125 mm, then how many days it will take? That is taken as T2. Then how much settlement will occur in 300 days? So time is taken as T3, that is 300 days, and settlement is S3, which we need to find. Then we know that degree of consolidation equal to settlement divided by final settlement. Settlement at a particular time divided by final settlement. So at a particular time it is 50 mm. So we can write 50 divided by final settlement is 250, so that we can find the degree of consolidation corresponding to the first condition. So it is 0.2, that is 20%. So for this we can find the time factor. Then for the second state, that is corresponding to a settlement of 125 mm, we can find the degree of consolidation, that is 50%. So for this also we can estimate the time factor. Then we know that time factor equal to CVT by D square, and since the soil is same, CV will be same, and because it is of same soil, even the thickness is same, so even T will get cancelled. So if we take the ratios of time factor, then only T is the variable, so that we will get TV1 by TV2 equal to T1 by T2. So from this, knowing the values of TV1, TV2 and T1, we can estimate the value of T2. Then another problem is, here time is given, we have to find the settlement. So corresponding to this particular time, we can estimate the time factor using the same relationship. Then time factor is coming as 0.62. If we take the first equation, that is pi by 4 u square, we are getting 88.85%, which is greater than 60%. So we have to take the another equation, that is 1.781 minus 0.9332 log to the base 10 100 minus u. So if we take this equation, we are getting the value is 82.46. So this is the correct value. Then we know that degree of consolidation equal to settlement corresponding to a particular time divided by final settlement. From this we can calculate the settlement S3, which is equal to degree of consolidation multiplied by final settlement. Next example, a soil sample 20 mm thick takes 20 minutes to reach 20% consolidation. So thickness is 20 mm, time is 20 minutes and degree of consolidation is 20%. Now we have to find the time taken for a clay layer, that is same soil which is in the field. For the field sample, the thickness is given as 6 meter and degree of consolidation is 40%. We have to find the time required to achieve this much of degree of consolidation. So here thickness is 6 meter. Assume double drainage in both the cases. So when there is double drainage, drainage path will become half of the thickness of soil sample. So D1 will become H1 by 2 and D2 is H2 by 2. Then corresponding to first condition, that is for laboratory sample, time factor equal to 0.031, and for the field soil time factor is 0.126. Because the soil is same, here coefficient of consolidation is same. Time factor equal to CVT by D square. From this we can write TV1 by TV2 equal to T1 by T2 into D2 square by D1 square. Because thickness is different, we have to take this. In the previous problem, this D1, D2 are not there. Directly we have taken TV1 by TV2 equal to T1 by T2. Because there the sample is same. Here the sample is different, but the soil is same. So that is the reason, because the soil is same, we have taken CV as same, but since the thicknesses are different, we have to take the D1 and D2 values. So from this we can find the time required. Knowing the values of TV1, TV2 and then T1, we can estimate T2 value, which is obtained in minutes, because T1 is in minutes, T2 also it is obtained in minutes, which is converted into years. Next example is a clay layer of thickness 3 meter sandwiched between two sand layers as shown in this figure. Now we have to estimate the total settlement. Here compression index is given, void ratio is given and increase in stress is also given. So how to estimate the settlement? Settlement we should always estimate at the center of the clay layer, because the consolidation happens only in the clay soil. We have to estimate the settlement at the center of the clay layer. Because it is symmetric, we have to estimate at the center of the clay layer. So whatever the values we are taking to estimate the settlement, that is sigma naught dash and delta sigma dash, should be corresponding to the center of the clay layer. So first we have to find the sigma naught dash, that is the initial effective overburden pressure at the center of the clay layer. It is nothing but weight of the soil above this level. So what is the weight of the soil? 2 into 18 plus 1.5 into 20. Actually, because there is water table, we have to take submerged unit weight, 20 minus 9.81. So here there is a small mistake. Don't take 20 minus 9.81 because it is effective stress. Effective stress equal to total stress minus pore water pressure. So when you wanted to calculate the effective stress directly, you have to take the effective weight, that is submerged unit weight, if it is submerged. Okay, because it is below the water table, take 20 minus 9.81. Then we will get the initial effective overburden pressure. Then increase in stress is directly given, that is 30. Then H naught is the initial thickness of clay layer, that is 3 meter. Compression index is given, initial water ratio is also given. So using this equation, we can estimate the settlement of the clay layer. Because we have taken the H naught value in meters, we will get the answer also in meters. Then we should convert into millimeters. Then last problem is, a 3 meter thick clay layer beneath building is overlain by a permeable stratum and underlain by an impervious rock. The coefficient of consolidation of the clay was found to be 0.025 centimeter square per minute. The final expected settlement for the layer is 8 centimeter. How much time will it take for 80% of total settlement to take place? Determine the time required for a settlement of 2.5 centimeter. What will be the settlement after 6 months? So here initial thickness is given as a field layer thickness is given as 3 meter, and because it is overlain by a permeable stratum and underlain by an impervious rock, it is of single drainage. So D equal to H. Then coefficient of consolidation is given as 0.025 centimeter square per minute. So here the units are in centimeter square per minute. Then final settlement is given as 8 centimeter. So here, since the soil is same, coefficient of consolidation is same. And it is mentioned that in the first case, settlement equal to 80% of final settlement. So from this we can write degree of consolidation is 80%, because degree of consolidation equal to S by SF. So here S equal to 0.8 SF. 0.8 SF divided by SF is nothing but 0.8, that is 80%. Then, so when the degree of consolidation is greater than 60%, we have to use the second equation for time factor, that is 1.781 minus 0.9332 log to the base 10 100 minus u. From this we can find the time factor, that is 0.57, and we know that time factor equal to CVT by D square. So from this, knowing the values of CV, then D, TV, we can find the value of T, time, which is obtained in minutes, because CV is in minutes, centimeter square per minute, and we should convert into years because the value is very big. Then next one is, we have to determine the time required for a settlement of 2.5 centimeter. So corresponding to 2.5 centimeter, we can estimate the degree of consolidation, which is S3 by SF. So 2.5 divided by 8, we can find the degree of consolidation, and for this degree of consolidation, we can estimate the time factor. Then again we can make use of the same equation, and then we can estimate the time required, which is obtained as 192.5 days. Then it is also asked to estimate the settlement after 6 months. So when the time is 6 months, then we can find the time factor. Time factor equal to CVT by D square. Since the soil is same, CV will be same, and then this CV value, it is this time value is converted into minutes, because CV value is in centimeter square per minute. So this time value is converted into minutes. Then this D value is converted into centimeters. Because of this CV value, we converted the D value in centimeter and time value in minutes. So from this we can find the time factor, and then we can estimate the degree of consolidation. Knowing the degree of consolidation, we can estimate the settlement.